Hello friend, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in our past video, we completed our setup Spring Boot project setup. So today we are learned about all these syntax, what is use of Spring Boot application.run and annotation like Spring Boot applications, and what is the REST controller request mapping and get mapping. So before to learn the all this syntax or annotation, we must know about the IOC container concept. So before deep and dive these annotations and syntax of Spring Boot, first we should learn about the IOC container, because of this Spring application dot run. This is basically create or initialize Spring Boot IOC container. So before knowing IOC container, you don't able to learn the Spring Boot syntax. So first we learned IOC container. After that we covered the syntax. So first we learned IOC container concept. So before learning IOC container, first go to the background of IOC container. Basically, a common question that is occur every student mind. So why we should learn IOC container? So first, in Java code, how we can create an object in Java code. So basically here class name, then reference variable, then new keyword. Basically new keyword is used to create an object. That is basically dynamic memory allocation in heap. So in Java core we are use this syntax to create an object, and this new keyword is dynamic memory allocation, DMA, dynamic memory allocation. That is basically responsible to create an object in heap memory. But whenever you deal with the 10 12th classes, so you are manually create that object. But whenever you work on a complex website that have like 10,000 classes, then singly you cannot manually handle all the object, like create an object manually and delete an object manually. That is too much complicated. So here Spring Boot concept is applied. Spring Boot say that as your developer, you work on only focus on your own logic, and my responsibility to create an object. Your responsibility only focus on your logic, not creating an object. So that is basically logic behind the IOC container. You don't create this syntax for creating an object in Spring Boot, because of here we have a power like IOC container, that is create an object manually. Means you are not working, you are not creating an object. Basically IOC container create that object. So IOC container is basically a type of object in heap memory. So here is the big container is basically heap memory, and inside heap memory IOC container work. IOC container is also an object, but IOC container is automatically create your object. But here is a problem. If you have 10,000 classes, then IOC container can create all these objects, because of IOC container say that now my responsibility is creating object. Okay. So here if you have 10,000 classes, IOC container can create 10,000 class object. So IOC container say that as your developer, you mention something in your class that you want to create an object. So IOC say that you add on your class as a component annotation, where the component annotation is apply my responsibility to create that object. So developers say that okay, I create a component annotation upon your class, so Spring can create that object. It's okay. So Spring responsibility to create a car object inside the IOC container. So all are done. But here is a mistake by default. What mistake? And now the developer say, how can use that object? So IOC say that okay, don't worry, take an annotation, auto add. So auto add is an annotation to extract that object inside the IOC container. So here auto add annotation is extract, basically extract the object, that object. Which object? So here class is indicate that class object that is extracted by the auto add annotation. So here class is basically an object that is created an object inside the IOC container. So here we apply auto add, and auto add extract that object to assign the car reference variable. And now we can easily call the all method that is creating inside the class object, because the fundamental of our Java here object object of our class. Inside the class, any method and variable can access by the object dot operator, object with dot operator. So here the same concept apply. Car dot start, that is basically mentioned here. It's print the start and then after that it print basically simple way start. So that all about the IOC container concept. But IOC have multiple type. Like first type is IOC Win Factory. So Win Factory is not used yet. That is deprecated now the time. But we use application context. That is now used in our Spring Boot project. So that all about the IOC container, and I hope you learned very well. So now we are able to learn the syntax of our Spring Boot project. So open our Spring Boot. So here we can see in our IOC concept, Spring application dot run and application dot class comma args. This is responsible for creating of our IOC container. Basically, this is create or initialize our IOC container. Okay, and this PSVM is a initial flow of execution of our program, as you know in Java code. Similar here. And after that, this Spring Boot annotation, Spring Boot application annotation, which have three sub annotation. And three you if you want to see that sub annotation, press Control and click here. After that, here we can say these three, basically mainly three, but it's have some here other annotation, but here we are only main annotation is three. So in as you know that in IOC container, first we are create our object by the help of the @component annotation. How to know IOC container? That you make your class as @component, because of if you make your class @component, then IOC make its object inside the IOC container. Okay, that is basically common. So here is an annotation that is component scanner. This annotation is scanned your entire project. Search the @component annotation, and where it's find that your class have @component, it's make the object of your class, because of your IOC know that you want to make this class object. Okay, so enable auto configuration. What is the annotation of enable auto configuration? So you know Spring Boot, whenever we install our project, Spring Boot is a embedded Tomcat server and you know JUnit for testing. So basically whenever we start our program, it's auto configure that application, like Tomcat server auto configure. So this annotation used for auto configure Tomcat server and JUnit and other dependency that you add on your project in previous video. And Spring Boot configuration. So basically this is responsible to say that object is basically contain the component annotation, and he want to make it as a object. That is the annotation work as. Okay, so here the demo class, and here the REST controller. So what is the use REST controller? So REST controller have two annotation. First is controller, and the second is response body. So controller is basically control over all traffic of our project, and response body is basically responsible which type of data we can return on the browser. Like it may be JSON, it may be HTML format, it may be string or anything that is responsible for the response body. And the request mapping is basically endpoint of our URL. So here is our endpoint URL is basically /API, and get mapping is basically an annotation. It's mapped the HTTP method. You know HTTP method. If you are not knowing HTTP method, so here we mention some HTTP method like get, post, put, delete, patch. These are common HTTP method or protocol. You can say anything. So HTTP method like protocol. Get is basically used to retrieve data from the server. So if you know the client and server architecture, so here is client is basically front end, and here is server basically backend. And we know that Java is a server side language. So and client side programming language, you know now the time React is popular, and you also know that HTML, CSS, JavaScript also popular. So we are only focused as a Java developer server side programming language, and the database basically we use here MySQL. So get is basically used to retrieve data from the server, and post is basically used to send data to the server, and put mapping is basically update or replace data existing is stored in your database. Patch is also used to update data, but it partially update. Delete is also used to remove the resources. So that overall the client and server architecture and HTTP method that we also use when we learned how to take input in Spring Boot project, then we all work with these method. Okay, so don't worry. So coming to our project, so that is the basically annotation that mapped with the HTTP method. So here get mapping, that means retrieve data from the server. Okay, so server is here our project, and client is basically our browser that Tomcat server run in our project, inside our project. So okay, so today we are going to the sum of our lecture, and tomorrow we will discuss the implementation of all these scenario here. Today we are discuss like IOC container and how to create an object with IOC container. So thank you. So now we are going to implement our IOC concept. So here we are assume that we have a car interface, and I want to implement that method in other classes. Like we have a car interface. So here we make first car as an interface, car interface, and we have a Audi car class, Audi car class, and in interface we want to some method declare here, some method declare like our car property like start engine and apply brake. So here we can inside interface we must declare the car property that we have, like a car is automatic start and maybe apply brake. That two method we are here apply. So first we make a method that is basically car property that is basically apply brake. So here write method public, and return type is string start engine, start engine. Yeah, and another method is basically apply brake. So here we have another method is public string apply brake. Yeah, so that is basically our car properties that car have, like car maybe start property, can maybe apply brake, and other property that any car that have. So here is car property. So in Audi, that car property, like this property, car property, this car property must be have Audi also. So here we implemented that car property, all the car property. So here implement that car property. So implement car. So as you know that whenever our class implement some interface, so class must be have the all method that is basically declared inside the implement. So implement is basically interface. So interface is here car, and car have two method. First is start engine and second is apply brake. So inside the Audi both method must be implemented. So implement that method, like implement method, and after that implement. So here we are going to implement that method, and start engine basically return a string that is start by key. Okay, and apply brake is basically manually apply brake. Okay, so that is basically our first Audi car. So if some other car that have a unique feature, like a car that have disc brake or auto start, so like a car is basically BMW, and that BMW is also implemented that method, because these method is basically common. Start engine is also common in any car, and apply brake is also common in any car, but implementation may be different by different car. So here Audi is basically start by the key and manually apply brake, but BMW may be the start by the automatically, it may be start apply brake by disc brake. So here we have so here we implement car interface, and it must be implement all the method inside the car. So here it may be start manually early it start by manually, and this break can be applied here. So this break apply. Okay, so here we implemented both car feature, BMW and Audi. So that car is our interface. So now the time is basically to create a IOC container. So IOC container is here when we run our project. So we know that a Spring application dot run is basically responsible for creating an IOC container. Okay, but a IOC container is basically make that object which a class have annotation, and that annotation is basically what annotation? Auto wired. So here we are apply annotation auto. That annotation is component annotation. And now the object of the Audi is going to the IOC container. We want to extract that object inside the IOC container. So for extracting Audi object inside the IOC container, we use a annotation that is basically auto-wired. So here is our demo class. Now we make object of Audi inside the IOC container, and that object is used inside the demo class. We know in Java code, when one class is inherited by the other class, we if we want to make the object of the child class, then we make object of child class, and that object is assigned by the parent class. So like this type of implementation in Java code, like super class is here, and after that child class object is here. So in we can extract car object inside the IOC container. So use auto-wired and extract a car object. So here write car and reference variable car. Now we call the method inside the car. Like inside the car we have method like start apply brake or start engine. So here we can easily call like car dot apply brake. So here car dot apply brake is basically going to the car class inside the car, because of we making the car object. So here inside the car object, so it's called the start engine. Okay, but inside the IOC container we have Audi object, I think. Yeah, Audi object. So it's called the start engine, this start engine. Okay, and if inside the demo class, if here we return the apply start engine, so inside the Audi this method is called. Okay, and if I make here I make a object of BMW inside the IOC container, so that the time basically start engine is calling which method? Basically inside the BMW method, this method. So it start manually. So our code is completed. So running our program. So what is our answer? So this is our endpoint, API endpoint. Copy this and waiting for it start our project. Yeah, start it. And here going to the localhost API. Yeah, so basically it's printed that manually apply break. So here analyze our code. Okay, so first we make a object, a car object. Okay, so inside the car we have two methods. First is start engine and the second is apply brake. Okay, so in IOC container we have a object. That object is basically Audi, and here we demo class we called the apply brake. So here inside the Audi apply brake is basically called. Okay, and now if our industry is changed and we want to switch the BMW car, so we don't make by default object of this class. Only we have remove here component, component, and apply here component. And now the whole scenario change. Now when call the apply brake, then it's this brake can be appear in browser window. So here apply brake. So going to the BMW, here this brake is apply, print in our browser. So okay, so here this brake is applied. Okay, so that is basically our code, that how to IOC container work, and what is the logic behind the IOC container, and how it's managed to automatically create an object. Okay, so thank you.